Well, it was our first fall-like weekend in Wichita, and it was really, really nice. We had daytime temps 75 to 80, supposed to push 90 the next 2 days, then we're going to be into the 60s with snow forecast from Montana through Michigan for the middle of the week. So Reg is sharing some of that cold Canadian air with us again. I talked to John Bottomley over the weekend, and he said they'd already had their first snow east of Toronto. So the seasons are changing. It's pretty easy to see why spring and fall are everybody's favorite seasons of the year. I mean, it's just really, 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 really nice over the weekend. And my football team happened to win. Now, it's probably the last time my football team's going to win in a bit. So we're going to start out this week's trading in the financials, and probably the biggest event for us this week is going to be the auctions, the 3, 10, and 30-year auctions, and those start tomorrow. And that usually leads to a rally in the financials. So it's an auction week. With the 3-year kicking off tomorrow, there's no news today. The biggest news out of the world came from Japan overnight, and their economy shrank at 7.1%. None of their markers were any good. All of them were much worse than had been forecast. So, and surprisingly, the Nikkei rallied off that. Not surprisingly, the Nikkei rallied. And good news is bad news, and bad news is good news in the world stock markets today. Switzerland missed their retail sales number. China's import-export numbers were mixed, lower than forecast. The EU investor sentiment number was down. And Germany's export numbers were higher than forecast. So the news on balance was negative that came out over the weekend. The EU increased their sanctions on Russia. Their largest bank, I think it's Rosenfeld, and Gazprom was also sanctioned. What Europe has going forward is Russia needs the cash flow from Gazprom's sale of gas to the EU. So they probably figured they could do that and not get in a lot of trouble. Okay, when we look at the structure, you can see that the market needs volume in this area right here, and it's really kind of holding above that. So this 125 even, 124, this area down in here, the market could really, really, really use some volume. So we've got a pretty good chance to trade down there. Resistance is 12 to 16, then it's going to be our 20 to 24. So our first sell is going to be 11 to 15, and it may take a while to get there. Might have to revise it lower too with the last rotate up at 8. I've got to buy 5 to 1, but given this volume over here, you know, buying the 1 area would make a little bit more sense. A lot of it's going to be dependent upon which way the E-mini trades today, and it's pointed lower right now. But just because there's bad news out there, you can't count on the E-mini selling. So with no news to drive today's trading, I'm basically making it a trading range market, and we're going to sell against resistance at 12 to 16 and really buy against support at 125. Looking at the 30-year, pretty much the same thing. We've got resistance at 12 to 16, so we'll make our sell 11 to 15. The knob spread did strengthen a little bit over the weekend. as you would expect into auction week. So maybe the 15 to 19 area would be a little bit more appropriate, but resistance is at 12. On the buy side, last rotate down stopped at 5. We've got 1, so because it's a little more volatile, let's open it up 29 to 01 for buy 1, and then 21 to 25 for buy 2. And structurally, when you look at where the market needs some volume, this area up here. So that's quite a bit. That's at 24 to 28 area. So I don't think we can get to that today, given the lack of news. Basically, the knob spread's at 13 now. And just add 13 to it. And if it starts to widen a little bit, we can give the 30 years some room. Okay, gold, I think larger players are distributing to the smaller players. I don't think the smaller players or the retail accounts really are too concerned about the price of gold. They just want to own some. And so I think the gold was headed lower. I think eventually we get down to the 1235, 1240 area. Obviously, we've got to get through several big numbers to get there. So we like selling basically the 75 area. And on the buy side, we've done well buying against 60. So we're 66 right now. So we'll make the sell 70, 72, that's S1. Then 75, 77, S2. On the buy side, we'll make it 60, 62, play for a little bit lower. It's on the assumption we can get through 65. 65 may be the number. We'll come in and we'll readjust that. Then we'll make, we bust 60, maybe stops below 58, so we'll make 55, 57 for buy 2. Okay, the war situation, it doesn't take much to uncover targets in a desert environment. It doesn't take much to stop transportation in a desert environment. So the United States bombing campaign, albeit a limited bombing campaign with promises to keep it that way from the administration, is winning in Iraq, and they're pushing them back. Ukraine, Russia is quiet over the weekend. The ceasefire went into effect on Friday afternoon at 6 p.m. their time. And it's holding so far. A lot of people don't think it will hold, but it is holding for right now. So the drumbeat of war, terrorist attacks anywhere in Europe, the United States could cause war spikes. Fighting breaking out in the Ukraine could increase the demand for gold just off a headline basis. So we'll have to pay attention. I mean, that's the exposure we have to being short gold. Okay, the euro found selling about where we thought it should. I do like the short side of the euro, and we'll continue to like it. I just don't think that the economy is such that the euro can do anything but sell, and that is the policy and the stated goal of the European Central Bank is to take the price of the euro down. Goldman is circled 120 to 125 is our next stop, so that's not too far away. This is a number 2 trade. If you go into the literature, 321. A resting limit sell against a high volume number. It's the safest trade out there for resting limit buys and limit sells. And this is volume most recent in the market's memory. So the market stalled against 29.60. We'd like, of course, to get the shorts done above 60 if possible. So we'll make 60 to 70, sell 1. may have to lower that. It may be at 50. We don't know right now. We're right here, so we'll see what it gets. On the buy side, our 20 to 30 area looks reasonable for buy one. And then basically 129, 129.10 for buy two. Pretty quiet today. Hard to see the bottom falling out of this. So we know there's a seller above 75, and we know there's a buyer below 30, and that's where we are right now. So we'll play for a trading range on that. Second sell will be 80 to 90. Okay, looking at crude. Every day the supply of crude on the world market goes higher. And it will because of the increased production from the United States, Canada, Libya, Iran, and Iraq. The swing producers, those that have some flexibility, the Gulf states and Saudi Arabia. But Saudi Arabia is willing usually to cut back their production to about 1 million barrels a day, and they won't take it any lower than that. Why? They need the money. They need cash flow like everybody else does. So I think crude is headed lower, especially as things improve in Iraq and if the fighting remains contained in the Ukraine, in the eastern Ukraine. So we like the sell side better. Right now, we have a double distribution down. You can see I'm going to split London out. That the selling started in London, and they're able to drive it down to 92.33. So we're going to make 92 and a quarter by one, and then 91.50.75 by two. On the sell side, this 93 area right up here, you got a single print at 88. Single print in the 5 to 10 area. You got the spill from 93.10. We've got this low at 88. So we're going to make 92.90 to 93.15 S1. And then we'll make 50 to 75 for S2. And we'll play for the short side of the market first. If we can't extend the range lower, then we can come back and think long. Okay, the E-mini. I think we're in a trading range, although the long-term structure is higher. And again, just to show you what we're dealing with structurally and price-wise, is we've got ourselves a very, very strong market. And we put all this together. You can see time is at 97.50 and volume is above that right here. So we're dealing with a P. This market is pointed higher, and as long as we stay above this 86.50 area right here, it can trade higher. And it's not comfortable for the fundamentalists, but it hasn't been comfortable. The market is trading up. And again, that's a pretty good example of why they call it fundamentals, because sometimes they apply and sometimes they don't. Eventually fundamentals rule, but on a day-to-day basis you cannot count on that. So we know we have a seller when we go back and look structurally above 8, and then in the Globex it's above 6. So we've got resistance in the 5 to 7 area. It's going to be sell 1. It is resistance. Sell 2 is going to be 9 to 11. I don't think we have the wherewithal to break it out today or tonight. On the buy side, because we're dealing with a B, first buy is going to be in this 99, 2001. I'd like to do it lower than that, but 2000 is a round number, and then our 95, 97. This 95, 97 area, because of this volume right here, looks attractive to me. And you can see we need volume here, and we need volume in this area. So getting down below 2000 off of a volume or structure-wise like that makes some sense. So the buy 2 area is where I'm most interested in getting long, so we'll put a question mark at this 2000 area. I think we've got a pretty good chance of taking that out. So it'll take about 15 minutes to get everything up and posted. I'm going to get busy on that. We'll put the financials up.